Hello, and welcome to part 2 of my Spike Lee director review. I want to start off by apologizing for not sharing where the films were available to stream from last week, so let's just get that done before we get into this video. So, She's Gotta Have It is available on Netflix in Canada and the US. They've also got a TV series that's a Netflix original. If you wanted to check that out. I haven't personally yet. I might check it out eventually. School Days is available on CTV in Canada, which is a ad-supported service. And it's available on Roku channel and Tubi in the US. Those are also ad-supported. Do the Right Thing is available on Crave in Canada and on Peacock in the US. Mo Better Blues is available for rent or purchase in Canada and on Peacock in the US. Jungle Fever is not available for streaming or rent or purchase in Canada or the US. I don't know why that is. Maybe check your local libraries if they have them. I don't know what to tell you. It's hard to find this one. Malcolm X is available on Crave in Canada and on HBO Max in the US. Crooklyn is available on Crave in Canada as well and on Peacock in the US. Now that we've gotten that all sorted out, we can start with our first review this week, which is the movie Clockers. 19-year-old Strike Dunham is a small-time street drug dealer for Rodney Little, who wants Strike to kill a former dealer who stole from him. When the man turns up dead, Strike is suspected, but before homicide detective Rocco Klein has a chance to investigate, Strike's brother, Victor, confesses to the crime, and Klein suspects that Victor, a virtuous family man, is trying to cover up for Strike. Clockers is available for rent or purchase in Canada and on Peacock in the US.
The acting in this was
straight out of a TV movie, with the exception of Delroy Lindo, Keith David, Harvey Keitel, and Francis Foster. What the film lacks in overall talent, acting-wise, it makes up for in a great overall story. I enjoyed that you are led to think one way, and then in the end, not everything was as it seemed. Overall, I'll quote Strike/Ronald by saying it was aight. Alright? Now let's move on to Get on the Bus. A desperate group of African-American men climb on a bus bound for the Million Man March in Washington, D.C. Among them, Evan Sr. and his son Smooth, who have been shackled together as a condition of Smooth's temporary probation. Although the group begins the trip as strangers, their shared stories and experiences unite them as their discord builds a portrait of what it means to be black in America. Get on the Bus is available for streaming on CTV in Canada, the Roku channel in the US, and on Criterion channel in both Canada and the US. This was a fun and engaging road trip movie with a group of men showcasing a tapestry of perspectives and personalities on the issues they're facing. The characters all learn and grow, so while they start the film as boys, they end as men. The film begins with a great opening credits song performed by Michael Jackson and continues with great songs throughout, ending with a performance by Kirk Franklin. Although I enjoyed the music, I found some of it didn't really fit the scene's tone, which made it a bit distracting. I would also like to warn that there are some homophobic slurs within the movie, but I will say that most of the characters showed respect and understanding to the two gay characters within the same scene. The character who throws these slurs around also gets a bit of comeuppance. I found the cast to be doing a great job. They all supported each other and no one took the spotlight. I also found it quite ironic that Andre Braugher plays a homophobic character in this movie, and then 17 years later played Captain Raymond Holt, an openly gay character, for 8 years on TV. Now let's move on to the next film, He's Got Game. Jake Shuttlesworth has spent the last 6 years in prison after accidentally killing his wife during a violent domestic dispute, leaving his son, star basketball prospect Jesus Shuttlesworth, to fend for himself. One day, the prison warden approaches Jake with an unusual offer. He'll be given a week of parole to convince Jesus to attend the governor's alma mater, with the promise of a shortened sentence if he succeeds. He's Got Game is available for streaming on Disney Plus in Canada, Hulu, and Paramount Plus in the US. One thing I admire about this movie is that it's not your typical sports movie. It's about one of the few things I did enjoy. I thought most of the performances were poor, especially Ray Allen, who has roughly the same acting talent level as other basketball players like LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal. I also felt that the movie's sex scenes and nudity were exaggerated and added nothing to the plot. The other thing I did enjoy was the ending father-son basketball game, although I knew how it would end as soon as it started. Let's move on to the next film, Summer of Sam. During the summer of 1977, a killer known as the Son of Sam keeps all of New York on edge with a series of brutal murders. The philandering Vinny unwittingly almost becomes a victim of the psychopath, and soon he and numerous people in his orbit, including his wife, Deanna, his punk rocker friend Richie, and aspiring porn star Ruby, are trying to figure out the identity of the killer before it's too late. Summer of Sam is streaming on Disney Plus in Canada, or Hoopla if your library has it, and same with the US, it's on Hoopla if your library has it. This was an interesting one by Spike Lee. The way they focused on the impact that a serial killer has on a community and a city as a whole was something I'd not seen before. It turns out the reason behind that decision was that the victims' families didn't want a film that could glorify the killer in any way. Coming into it, I thought it would be more like Zodiac or Mindhunter, but it's something all on its own. While I enjoyed that concept, I felt that it was lacking in its execution. The story was all over the place, jumping to different months without letting the audience in on that, making it hard to follow. It's also had awkward and odd sexual sequences that made me cringe. Early in the movie, I also got distracted by the fact that John Leguizamo's character shouldn't have been allowed to cross the police line, nevertheless get close to or touch elements of the crime scene, just because he lives there, which he didn't. Let's move on to Bamboozled. A blistering satire of network television's pitfalls and prejudices. A humorous look at how race, ratings, and the pursuit of power lead to a television writer's stunning rise and tragic downfall. Pierre Delacroix, a young Harvard-educated man who is the sole person of color writing for an upstart television network with floundering ratings. Despite several attempts, Delacroix has yet to see any of his concepts go into production. This movie is available for rent or purchase in Canada, but solely on Apple TV, I assume iTunes as well, and on Tubi in the US. I don't feel that description does this film at all justice. It doesn't give you much about what the film is, so I'm going to read off a couple others. TV producer Pierre Delacroix becomes frustrated when network brass reject his sitcom idea. Hoping to get fired, Delacroix pitches the worst idea he can think of, a 21st century minstrel show. The network not only airs it, but it becomes a smash hit. I guess that sums it up pretty well. I don't need to do another one. Anyways, let's move on to the review. I hated this movie. I really did. I hated it so much. If I hadn't wanted to quit 5 minutes in, I certainly did at 10. Regardless of wanting to abandon it, I stuck around until the end. This movie was shot like a low-budget film, and the music and sound effects felt cheap. I have only one question for the people who made this movie. Where did that money go? This movie cost $10 million. Where did it go? For the actors that have worked before, I don't know why they all seemed as though they were just random people that were just plucked off the street to be in this movie. There was only one thing that I could say that this movie did well, the comedy club scene. But the rest of it doesn't work at all. On paper, this was an intriguing idea. In execution, not so much. Now, I'm going to compare this to another film that was shot very similar. And that movie is Flywheel. Flywheel cost $20,000 to make, and it made $37,000 at the box office. So, successful fairly. You know, most movies want to make, at least 1.5 times its budget. That film did it. This movie cost, as I said, $10 million to make, and it made $2 million at the box office. So it lost the studio $8 million. Now, I don't know how much they spent on advertising either of those films, so that could increase that as well. And again, figuring out, okay, yeah, movies do make money on the back end through home video or any streaming deals or anything that's going on. So that's another thing that these movies could be getting money. But still, it just doesn't make much sense to me. Now, let's move on to the next film and the final film I'll be covering for this video, 25th Hour. New York City in the days following the September 11, 2001 terrorist attacks, Monty Brogan steels himself for a lengthy jail term. Brogan is a convicted drug dealer about to start a 7-year prison sentence, and the final hours of freedom are devoted to hanging out with his closest buddies and trying to prepare his girlfriend, Naturel Rivera, for his extended absence. So some of you may or may not know this, but this was a film that was made based on a script, a book actually, by one of the co-creators of Game of Thrones, David Benioff, I believe his name is. So anyways, this was another average film by Spike Lee. Most of the cast acting was pretty good, especially Edward Norton, Brian Cox with that beautiful ending monologue, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and Anna Paquin. I also can't neglect to mention the powerful impact that Barry Pepper's performance had on the fight between him and Edward Norton in the end. Terence Blanchard also made a great score that set the correct tone for the film. The problems lie in the overall story, editing, and pacing, which felt disjointed in many ways. Now let's move on to my ranking of these films. I will do probably in the next video another ranking of those films and then a top 5 or top 10 of Spike Lee's movies overall. So stay tuned for that. So at number 6 we have Bamboozled at 1 out of 5. We got at number 5 He's Got Game at 2.5 out of 5. At number 4 is Summer of Sam with 3 out of 5. At number 3 we have Clockers at 3 out of 5. At number 2 we have 25th Hour at 3 out of 5. And at number 1 is Get on the Bus at 4 out of 5. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any suggestions or information you would like to share, please leave it in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more from me, hit the subscribe button. Next week we'll be doing a part 3, the final part of my Spike Lee watch through, and we will be covering 6 new films, and then 2 that I've already seen. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.